Hello, hello. This here is Tracilyn. I'm also known as VCat. And I am making this vlog today to share the good news. I have been wanting this album for a very long time. Since 2010-ish, 2011, I started to work on an album art cover. And I'm finally finished today, which is November 11th, 2020. I'm getting ready to print it out. I have the album art cover already hung because I wanted to make sure it was going to turn out okay. So I want to show you first what it once looked like. I did some research and I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was done in November of 2011. I have a lot of red tint. I used different font. Went by Tracilyn, and then originally I was going to call the album Ragtop Cadillac, and 2012 marks a new beginning. Okay? But, as some of you may have seen, I really like my name in a specific angle and a specific font as well. I do it on a lot of my photographs, and I put it in my videos and everything. I got like a green light there. Here is, I don't know if you can see it that good, we'll turn on some light. And this is what it looks like today. What I decided to do is use the name Tracilyn with my font and the angle. Okay? And the album title is actually now called Could Have It All. That's originally what the song was titled, and then for whatever reason I decided to go with Ragtop Cadillac, and I've done a lot of thinking over the last 22 months almost. It's been 21 months. I started in January 2019, right around the 23rd, to lay down the first tracks, and instead of just doing a 10-song album, I started to record additional music for the following album that I'm going to be doing with a whole lot of remakes of my other songs that I've recorded on the other two albums. Playfully Purple and Dayton, Ohio, USA. I didn't know it was going to take as long as it did, so I'm very grateful that I had a place to live during the time, and I had really good food. I needed that more than you can imagine, more than I realized. But I've been working day and night. A lot of times I would get up between 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. By 9 o'clock I was starting to work on this album, and most of the time I would only go to bed about midnight. Around 11 o'clock, midnight, I would decide to retire and go to sleep. Then I wake up in a few more hours, like 7, 8 hours, and then I would start over. And I've been doing this for approximately 21 months. Occasionally, because I get very fatigued and obviously doing that, I would take cat naps. Sometimes for a few hours, and I would continue. And at times, it would seem like I would get very stressed out in the process of it. But I finally accomplished it, and I wanted to share this on video. I may not sound like it, but I am extremely excited to share this with you. Tracilyn Could Have It All. And instead of calling it Ragtop Cadillac, I decided to kind of give it like a nickname, like I go by Tracilyn, also known as VCat. This album will also be known as Ragtop. So for anybody that might have heard it previously, since 2010, 2011, all the times I used to play it out, I always called Ragtop Could Have It, or yeah, Ragtop Cadillac. Ragtop Cadillac. And now it's called Could Have It All, with the nickname Ragtop. Ta-da! I am here in my studio. I call VCat Productions. Can you ask me this thing? That's kind of like my little logo guy. I love cute little tigers, little kitty cat tigers. In this video, I'm going to show myself burning the disc, and I also want to print out 2 different labels. I want one for my car so that I can listen to it while I'm working on my 4th album. And I have one here to observe, because what I've been doing is I don't have these mass-produced, obviously. I do share them in MP3 format on my website at Tracilyn.com. You can always download the songs there for absolutely free. It's my contribution to the human race and anybody interested in rock and roll. I have some praise and worship music and a lot of stories of my life and things that I've been through and my perspective of encounters with others that I've had in living life as a human being, as a transsexual female, and also as an escort. This is what I do. I make what I call studio home demos. They're kind of like little models in case I would ever want to do anything what I perceive as worldwide, where they would be mass-produced. They are what I would say demos of what it is that I would like to achieve if I were to ever release them. Right now, the easiest way for me to do it is in MP3. I have one sitting beside my bed. This one's Playfully Purple. Okay. And then inside I have a small insert. Okay. And then I have the disc. And inside these I have the lyrics to the songs. I don't know if you can see, but I made like a little lyric book, okay, of the songs that are on the CD. And purple has become one of my favorite colors. I would say it's my favorite color over the years. When I was a child, I was going through some things when I was living at my second home in Jonestown, Pennsylvania. And I used to love the Dukes of Hazzard, was my favorite show a lot. And obviously, like a lot of people, I loved the General Lee. And it obviously is orange. So I had 2 matchboxes that I explained in my last story. One was like one that I held very close and I would not play with it outside too much. And the other one was for me to kind of crash up into other cars and play in the mud and dirt and stones with it. And I would purposely get it all dirty and everything, then I would wash it and everything. So I had one that I used pretty harshly as a kid, and then I had one that I wanted to try to keep as nice as possible in the house. And I used to love playing with matchboxes when I was a child. And this is the original Playfully Purple disc. There's things that I like about my models, as I call them. There's things that I like, and there's things that I might want to change in them if I were to do like a mass production of them. So I'll show you the other one quick, and then we'll get started on the latest album, my 3rd album. This one here is also by my bed, and so I can look at my achievement on a regular basis. It's something I've always wanted to do for many, many years, and in all honesty, I tried more than you can imagine to get other people involved because I felt that it was something that I wanted to do with others. Originally, I started off playing guitar in bands. I had a hard time with singing ever since I was just really little. My grandmother and other people had encouraged me. They had mentioned they really liked my voice, but I was very, very shy. I was kind of insecure with myself. I did do some things, and as time went on in life, I started to realize that in order to do the endeavors that I would like to do, I would proceed to move forward dominantly, not always, but by myself. And I went through a lot of psychological turmoil with this because I really felt strong that I should have friends or somebody at least very close that I could co-write with, record. I didn't realize a lot of what's involved in it because I never really sat down to record. One of the unique things with me is not only was I insecure with myself and shy, but I obviously lacked a lot of confidence. I realized that I could write, but I didn't feel that the songs were necessarily I didn't feel that they were in a standard that a lot of music is, and that was one of my, what I would perceive as dreams. That was one of my hopes, is that I would get to hear at least some of my songs in my lifetime that would be fully recorded, and I'd have the opportunity to not only share them but play them out with other people. Since I've been living here now, my anniversary came up on Halloween, which is very unique. If you ever listen to my life story, you might be able to piece it together, but when I got this apartment, I really didn't want to move in at first, and it took me quite a few months before I finally had everything here. And I laid down my first day that I stayed here and I cried, and when I woke up, probably right around November 1st, I realized that this is probably where I'm going to have to stay for now. It was obvious to me. And also that when it came to recording my music, it was going to be a very strenuous, challenging task, because I never recorded music before in my life that I was satisfied with, by myself, I mean. I've done demos ever since childhood, and like at my grandmother's house, on cassettes and stuff, cassette players, recorders. I tried that, and I used my brother was very helpful to me in many ways, and I used a lot of his equipment to make other what I perceived as home demos, and I was never satisfied with the actual outcome when comparing it, unfortunately, with other recordings I heard like on the radio or other cassette collections that I had of recording artists. And my true desire was to get my songs into a sound that if I were to play my music along with other people's recordings that I liked, they would kind of sort of blend in, I guess is the way I describe it today. Alright, and I had a huge challenge with that, and I definitely lacked self-confidence when it came to it. So I had started this endeavor in 2014 with Playfully Purple, and then I moved on to Dayton, Ohio, USA. And I have to say the only reason that I continued to keep going is because slowly, through doing an extensive amount of research, watching a lot of YouTube videos, and having the opportunity to hear my songs, hear my voice overlapped with all the editing tools and everything, my confidence within myself, my certainty that I love to hear my music started to occur. And I continued to move on with other recordings in excitement. And can I say that I've overcome a lot of the other things, and I feel sorry for the fact that I ever felt the way that I did, but it's obvious how and why. The technology has advanced for the way things happened in my life, circumstances, depression, secluded, isolated in a way. It most certainly gave me the quality time to sit down and work at my pace to be able to achieve this. So I really poured my heart and soul into this. I had mentioned that I used to be a part of an NSAI group here in Dayton, Ohio, and I browsed through my files a lot when I'm recording to kind of reflect back. And I remember the songwriter nights that I used to go to, and I met a lot of nice people. In 2010 especially was a very good year for me. I met very what I would perceive as accomplished songwriters, people who were familiar with the craft of writing songs and recording, and I'm looking forward to sharing more about that. It's amazing that I often think while I'm finishing up, especially this third album, is there's some people who had transitioned on, and meaning that some of the world would perceive it as passed away. And I wish that I would have been more psychologically where I am today, that I could share my joy and gratitude for the moments that we had the opportunity to share life together. I got to listen to a lot of great music. And one of my big desires, because I thought it would be the only way, my only hope, when I couldn't find another producer similar to that which I worked with out of Lebanon, Pennsylvania, I really wanted to move down to Nashville because I was hoping I could meet producers and people that would work with me, other musicians and stuff like that. And just to make a story short, I ended up realizing that for me, the very best thing that could ever happen is that I had this home, I had plenty of good food, and I had the ability to get the resources that I need and have the quality time to do all the researching. I was confused as to whether or not I should go to school. I've been thinking about this ever since I was a teenager. And there's another story of somebody who was very uncertain. I realized that throughout my life that I perceived myself as having a learning disability, so I don't learn like other people. And I would kind of, many times in my life, I felt like hopeless. I felt completely hopeless. But I knew in my heart, my psychological brain, that I really, truly felt like there's something of great importance that I'm here to do and I want to do. In other words, I wanted my life to count, and I just didn't know where to begin or how to go about a lot of the endeavors. So the way everything kind of happened, I'm starting to realize was a great blessing in many areas. And now I would much rather, at least at this time in my life, do a majority of my recording by myself. I'm thinking eventually of reaching out to others yet again about possibly, playing an instrument or so on my recordings, but, I'm not sure yet how I'm going to go about that. So I want to show you this Dayton, Ohio, USA. It's like a studio model. And what I do is I put these together and set them here by my bed to remind myself of what would be dreams or desires, my hope to be able to hear my own music, fully recorded. And so far it has been very helpful to me to see these. I get to touch them and open them up every once in a while. Think about things as far as to what I would want to do in the future. Here's another one. This is Dayton, Ohio, USA. And this is the actual disc. I really like this. I don't really like, throughout my life I really did not like brown a whole lot, and I really did not like gold. I'm a silver person. But I have to say that since I've been here, I know that like when it comes to walls, I really realize that when I stay away from darker colors, it helps with my depression. That's number one, atmosphere. And number two, I really like an off-white color. So this is like an almond white. And I'm also starting to really appreciate, since I've been working on my Dayton, Ohio, USA album and looking at it on a regular basis, I really like creamy kind of colors. I think they're very classy. This is my Dayton, Ohio insert. The right B flyer is what you see here, and it's a photograph of the Huffman Prairie, and with a message, "You still can dream," which is lyrics in my song that I wrote while I was living with Catherine in 2010, the beginning. I wrote that song, and I explained that I'd done research it took me about 6 days, and I double-checked with people I knew at that time because I wanted the facts to be as close as possible, as accurate as possible. I did the very best I could in hopes of honoring, but that song was written because I really felt lost. I didn't know where to actually be. My heart was tugging on moving to California. I like nice weather. And I also was an entertainer for over a decade. And I used to love lifting people's spirits and whatever it takes for me to be happy. And I like to see other people be happy, you know. That was usually my goal when I was an entertainer, is to try to bring joy into other people's lives and lift their spirit and get them to smile. And, you know, that's the way I still felt then, and when I wasn't entertaining, I just kind of felt like empty a little bit. With that being said, it's the same thing as Playfully Purple, and I have the lyrics to the songs, and I put some of my favorite photographs. This is one of my very favorite. I have it on my wall over here, a printout of it. It's a gorgeous bridge that's downtown in Dayton, Ohio. One thing that I really like is that they took time to make their bridges very intimate and romantic in appearance. I've never seen anything like it in my life, you know, coming from the area that I came from, and even in my travels. I'm sure it's out there somewhere in the United States, but I really love driving down Interstate 75 passing through Dayton, Ohio, since they've done that. And they light up the bridges, it reflects off the river, and the streets and everything, and I just think it's one of the more romantic, intimate sceneries. It's kind of, sort of, like the same effect as what Christmas would have on me when everybody decorates for Christmas and it's snowing out. I really like that a lot, and I wanted to put it in my video. I was hoping I wouldn't upset anybody when I did it, and it kind of, like this bridge that I was at, kind of gave me like a stage sensation. So it was an awesome place for me to do the song in that video was Volunteer. And I thought it was really cool because of my situation of bridges in the past. And in 2009 and stuff, I was going to commit suicide. And, you know, thank goodness somebody heard my cries and invited me out here. With that being said, me and Bridges have sort of a relationship, and I've learned since I've been doing some of my videos, I go back, if you notice, if you ever watch my music videos, you'll see me add a couple bridges. I love the pillars. You see those things that I'm leaning against there? That's a pillar, I think. And a concrete pillar, it's kind of like to help stabilize the bridge, you know? And with that being said, you know, I think that's something wonderful that is a contribution to a very pleasant atmosphere here in Dayton, Ohio. And they have quite a few bridges that are lit up. So for anybody else out there that may think that it might not have been maybe in the wisest thing to do, I often had said to God when I was talking to myself, that I hope the people that done it know that there are people who really appreciate it a lot. And I'm hoping someday that I could meet somebody cool who might want to throw a blanket down under a bridge there that's lit up and have just like an intimate conversation and maybe a picnic or something at night. That'd be pretty cool. I would like that. Maybe a dance. And if I ever find anybody who's comfortable with transsexual status. You never know. Maybe. And anyway, so here's more lyrics to my songs that are on this album. I have like 2 remakes that were on here. I didn't really want to do that. This album was supposed to be, I was hoping I could make it to 20 or 21 because my username that I use a lot of times, like in my Gmail account or Facebook, is Tracilyn21. It has a lot of meaning to me. So with that being said, I was hoping that I would have that be 21, but believe it or not, you know, if you never recorded, then you might not know, but for those who do, I passed out, like, literally fell on my face, exhausted, in a puddle of tears. Some of the stuff that I've done on here might not sound to the listener as much time and energy was put into it, might not sound appealing to you, but I worked very, very hard, and I would have to say that I surpassed psychological barriers that have been holding me back my whole life, and I think it's absolutely amazing that I have come as far as I did as a singer, doing backups and harmony, everything that I wanted to do with others, and I didn't really know how to go about it. And being that I came from a gospel family who played instruments and sang harmony, and a lot of it was gospel music, I wanted to do the same but not identical. I just didn't know what it was. And a lot of that is captured on this album, you know. So I'm very grateful, and I've become more grateful for my abilities and what some people might think is an inability. I realized a lot in my musical endeavors in doing these two albums, especially this one. And I'm very proud of myself that I stayed strong to do it, and I can't tell you how many times I hoped that I would live through it, because it's very, very challenging for me to go through. Not only opening up emotions in the words of the songs with what I wrote and trying to sing, but it's also trying to sing the best that you can. You know, it got easier, but it's still quite challenging, especially because you might be unfamiliar with where to go when you're singing harmony, etc., etc. And then I have more pictures. And I don't know if this is focusing in or not. If it's not, I apologize. But up in the far left, I made that at one of the parks over here by the river, Stillwater, I think it is called. But I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyway, I made that in the sand, and there's somebody who wrote about letters in the sand. I don't want to talk about it right now, but that song and myself go a long way with writing with my feet and writing names and inspirational words in the sand. That means something to me. And obviously, I tried to make my little logo there, so I took some sticks and I put a cross and a V. And over here, I have a history with pigs from the first home that I lived in when I was first born in 1972. And this was a video washing me clean that I had done back in 2012, 2013. And I was going through a lot of hurt. And the picture really means a lot to me. And I love the dress that's in it, so I put that in here. And then also, I don't know if anybody who's listening to this video remembers a gentleman by the name of Paul David Bach. That is a singer-songwriter, and he was pretty well known here in Dayton, Ohio, and abroad. He's one of the very first people, when I came out here, as myself, that I had the opportunity to sit beside and play along. I used to love to go to his place, and believe it or not, a majority of the time, I would say I just really wanted to listen to him. And I listened to his music every day of my life. Whenever I'm not working on my music, a majority of the time, the only music that I listen to is either Playfully Purple or Dayton, Ohio, USA, or I listen to Paul David Bach. And there's another Higgins and Madewell that I recently started listening to while doing this album more of, because she or they are on Paul David Bach's songs. And he was introduced to me by somebody from my NSAI group who was very kind to me, and he said that I should go along and meet Paul. You know, maybe he might be able to guide me a little bit in my musical endeavors. And I would have to say that he definitely was not wrong about that. And in short, I shared that in a video. I was very grateful to meet Paul, but I was dealing with a lot psychologically, as we all go through things, but I was really crushed, devastated during that time, and I used to love to go to listen to him. That night that I ended up going to his place to help him along, taking his stuff home, his gear and everything, he had given me, at one point, he had given me a CD and maybe a couple of them at the time, I'm not sure. I think 1, 2, or 3 CDs. And then he gave me some posters and an article eventually. He had given me some memorabilia of the Paul David Bach Band. And I got to see in his garage, kind of like a rehearsal place that he used to love to go to write songs, and he would sing a lot. And I was dealing with much, and listening to him really was a part of my healing process. And I'll talk more about that maybe in the same video, or I might make a separate video. But in the near future, I would like to talk about that. I really loved him. He had a dog. And I remember when I was listening to his CD after I left his house, I put it in right away. That's the kind of person I am. You give me a CD, especially at a time like that, I put it in, and can I tell you that I was shocked at what I heard. I couldn't believe that I had the opportunity to meet somebody. I am very selective over the kind of music that I will listen to. Most times if somebody, especially if I know they're an independent songwriter, singer, or they perform like locally and stuff, I have interest to at least hear their personal music. I always enjoy and appreciate when people try to get away more from the covers and they sing more of something that came from them or a group of friends or what have you. And Paul was an excellent songwriter, and one of his songs just lit everything up in my mind, very dreamy, reminded me of movies that I have seen throughout my life. And I really had a hard time believing that I didn't hear this music before he had given it to me. That's how good I thought it was. I listened to his music a lot over the years, even since then in 2010-ish. It's been with me when I traveled on the road as an escort and stuff. And when I came back here living in this home, I try to stay away from what I perceive as commercial music, like stuff you'd hear on the radio on a regular basis, for many different reasons, especially as being a recording artist and stuff. I don't want to purposely listen to people's music and put it into my music. I kind of go with the music as a child that I grew up with, and that's kind of like the basis of my inspiration. Not that I'm not inspired by others, it's just that I really don't want to. It's one thing if you were listening to music like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, throughout your life, and you're kind of inspired and some of that stuff ends up coming into your music. It's different if you're listening to it on the radio, and then some of that comes into your music today. Like, I just try to stay away from that. It can happen, even by accident. So here's the thing, because our minds, the way our minds work, So with that being said, I try to respect other recording artists. But obviously, music is out there, and whatever you're inspired with, you kind of add to your own music and everything. And I've always been cautious with that. While I'm working on my music project, I have been continuously, since I lived here in 2014, listening to Paul David Bach. Over and over again, I made like my favorite ones, and I tried to stay away from songs that I might feel sad a little bit and more uplifting. I made like a little playlist, and then I added some of his friends that used to work with him, I guess, in the studio and play live and stuff. And I kind of brought them all together. I made like a compilation playlist, variety songs of the artist, and I listen to him every single day, all day long. It's the only music I listen to besides mine. So if I'm not listening to mine, I'm listening to Paul David Bach or Aaron Higgins. and you know, the stuff that was on Paul David Bach's CDs. Awesome music. And I think that has been helping me a lot in therapy, and to know that I had the opportunity to meet somebody who was as kind as he was to me. And that's the reason I'm saying that, is because of this photograph. I didn't want to be there that day, not because of him or anyone else, but because I was in an extreme low of depression. Despite the fact that I had somewhere to stay, I still thought very strongly that I was homeless. And I didn't really know how to get my needs met. I'd gotten into some scuffle with the law. And I really wanted my life to get straightened out, and I did not know for sure how to go about that. So it took quite some time to get from this stage to where I am today. So I'm very grateful. It took a very, very long time for me to think things out, to apply action. I'm grateful I was there, and I was grateful that day. It's just that I didn't really, I didn't realize the effect that this picture would have on me today, which is, I'm blessed. Okay? I used to entertain all the time, and, you know, for years, I should say. I entertained for over 7.5 years with an acoustic guitar. And a majority, not always, a majority of the time I did it alone, and I always wanted to do other endeavors, and I really, truly did not know how to go about it. And maybe someday I'll share that. I think I did share that a lot, and I don't want to stay stuck. So I'm overcoming some of it. I have thoughts in my head and ideas, and I'm hoping to follow through with them throughout my 50s and 60s especially. I hope I'm blessed with longevity in life and health, and that I can meet some really fun people that like my music and are okay with me being a transsexual female. You know, time will tell. I think I will, but you never know. And that's it. The Dayton, Ohio. And the back, the songs that are on here. I tried to keep it as basic as possible because the recording process is lengthy. It takes time. You know, for me to do a song may take, it depends if it's a small song. What I perceive as small might be like electric guitar, bass, and the drums, and then singing in some harmony tracks, which might be approximately anywhere from 90 tracks to 100 and maybe under 50, till you break everything down and automate it and everything. When I start doing the bigger tracks, now you're going to be looking at more than 150 tracks, closer to 200 tracks, maybe even some of them on this album. I even have some songs that by the time they're broken down and I EQ'd everything, melodined, I use Melodyne to try to get my vocals in tune and everything. The lead vocals on this one, not necessarily the backup vocals I did not do on the first 2 albums with the Melodyne because it was taking me a very long time. This album, Could Have It All, I started to use the Melodyne on all the vocals. I would say a majority of them. So when you listen to and you hear the backup vocals on my first 2 albums, that was me trying to sing them as flawless as I could. I was trying to stay away from technology as much as I could, meaning computer stuff, and the more that I'm starting to work with the computer, I'm realizing that it's kind of like my best friend. And I'm starting to find myself wanting to get in there and edit things and make them as flawless as I can, and sometimes I kind of overdo it, you know, and you can hear it. But I'm very thankful, and I'm definitely not embarrassed of my music, and I definitely can listen to it every single day. So I would say that I'm satisfied for the first time in my life with music. I wish every area of my life could be as satisfactory as I have been feeling about surrenderance more to the truth and my fresh perspective of the Holy Bible, which means a lot to me because as weird as it may sound to you, I credit Scripture for the clarity in my mind and the focus, and gave me psychological strength to stay alive and to pursue my heart endeavors. I really do love God in my own way, and if you hear this message and you don't like it, I'm sorry. Maybe someday it'll be there for you in a manner that you can dig into it yourself and learn whatever you need to get through this life, and hopefully that you have peace with the fact that, like in the Christian faith, life is eternal. It goes on always. So I think it's very helpful to me getting through this. You know, it helped me get through a lot of psychological struggle that I had for many, many years, a majority of my life. All right, now, enough about that. So you see that I have my little models of my CDs here that mean a lot to me. If you notice I keep looking over here, it's because the screen's over here and I know the camera's there. And I just really have to say that a majority of the time that I really love looking at myself. And I like to see myself at least trying to be happy. Long story short, throughout my childhood, I really did not like seeing pictures of myself, and it looked like it. A majority of the time, I did not smile, and, you know, I knew something was missing, okay? And I've realized in my surrenderance to what I've learned was transgenderism, I became at least extremely happy with that area of life. And it was very hurtful when I would meet others that did not approve. And I'm grateful that I got through those days, for now anyway. And I hope they never come back, because it's very challenging to take serious steps in your life and constantly meet others who either are not aware, they're not knowledgeable about it, or they try to, not purposely or purposely, knock somebody down because they're pursuing their own desires. So I'm a lot happier with identifying as loving. How's that? I want to be loving. Okay? So here's the thing. I love this photograph. And I just want to show it quick. And I'm not sure, it's not this one, but I have another one back here. This is a by bridge, I think. So there's a bridge here, and then there's another overpass here. So there are overpasses. And somewhere along the lines there is like a semi-truck that drives by. I think I have another photograph very similar to this one, and there's like a semi-truck. And my dad used to drive truck. I don't know if he still does. I drove truck for a season of time, and it gave me a lot of time to think about things while I was on the road. All right, here we go. So I showed you this. Giraffe. Looking out the window. And that's what it used to look like in about 2011. I even had the time on it, and I think I was up like approximately like 11 o'clock at night-ish working on that, and that also inspired me, because if it was that important to me back then and I was up late, then I understood that while I'm working on this now, it was kind of my encouragement and motivation to stay up even if you're tired, knowing that you're kind of with yourself back then and now, enduring and getting through this. Here's another picture of Ding Ding, which is in my album where I post my pictures throughout the house. It has been very helpful and therapeutic to me. You know, it might seem a little crazy, or what some people might perceive as self-centered, but it is like personal accomplishments to me, and it means a lot to see myself today more of the person that I desire to be, and a lot of times I try to show myself with a smile. Because I did not smile too much throughout my life. And I know that that even comes through my family tree. As I discussed, I seen photos of our entire family, and none of them smiled. Okay? I'm not saying like my immediate family now, but history family photography. When they would get photographs of the entire family, a lot of people did not smile. So, and I had a struggle with that. I wanted to know why. It was a question mark. Did God give it to me? Why are they not smiling? Why am I not smiling? Tracilyn could have it all. Ragtop. Okie dokie.